All right, so yeah, Colton, so the 5-pin DIN on your broken cables, the Mogami stuff. Come on, man, we work at Zoo Cable. All right, Soul Mark II. We're really excited about this loudspeaker. It looks fantastic. We're here at Chuck's house today. Chuck, hey, how you doing, Chuck? Hey, what you could walk over too, you know, be in the scene even. Chuck, thanks for having us.
You bet. Thank you for coming.
So the system we've got in Chuck's house today, also keeping with the theme, the mid-century theme, we've got the Luxman PD444 direct drive turntable from the early 80s, but with the 70s, 60s, mid-century clean lines. And then we have a Marantz 2245 receiver. That's all. That's the whole system. Chuck threw these in his room. There's no feet, and you don't want them sitting directly on the floor. So your setup tip is they come with these ball-end feet installed, and if you're on really thin carpet like the floor tiles or you've got some hardwood, just keep these in and you're good to go. All right, so now we've got the speakers with the ball feet installed. You've got about 3/8 of an inch, so you can barely get your pinky underneath it. It's a great place to start. And Chuck, bass is twice as good, 3 times good? Right, tons better. So if your speakers are sitting directly on the floor, you're not gonna be as happy as you could be. So make sure you got a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch gap between the floor, where we've got the finger ports on the bottom, and the floor material. If it's not really critical, but you don't want nothing. So now a little bit about the speaker. We've got a full range driver. It's the same motor, same secondary cone assembly as the one that we fit on our Druid, our Definition, and Dominance. It's got a revised voice coil assembly, of a little bit different motor so we can coaxially mount the super tweeter in the back of it, and a little bit of a revised whizzer cone on the front. It does use our Nanotech materials for the cone layout, but it's still a paper core cone assembly. You get a sound that is really uniform throughout your room. No matter where you go, if you're in the kitchen, if you're on the sides, the stereophony is awesome all the way through the room. It's our easiest speaker to like, and it's still very high resolution, even though it's happy with old receivers, modern high fidelity stuff like the First Watt SIT amplifiers. Killer matchup. You'd be really happy with it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we can let you taste it a little bit. I'm playing some Mike Watt. So that's just my phone running into the Marantz receiver, running into the speakers. Simple system. And the Mike Watt's everybody's cup of tea, but I dig this shit. So next what we're going to do is have a little bit of discussion on how best to get your sound right, talking about the gap height and position within your room. All right, so you got your speakers in, they're off the floor. As you can see, they're a little bit skitty-wampus, they're different. You want left and right about the same, but before you go crazy with your tape measure and laser beams, trying to figure out the exact sweet spot, which is right. No, you don't have to worry about all that nonsense. And these speakers are designed to sound awesome everywhere. Yeah, of course the sweet spot's going to sound the best. So to find where you want to be sitting, really look at your room. How does it flow? Chuck, you don't want to destroy your room with nonsense. No, this is a living room. So we want our sound to sound good in the living room. So Chuck, when he really listens, you know, he pulls out his Ames chair and he sits his butt down and he listens. But he's with the family, he's got people on the side, he's got chairs crossed here. So to get it to sound good everywhere in this room, we're going to keep them pretty close to this. This is where they function, so you can still get in and out of the couch. So on this one, we're going to kind of match that one because we want a nice tidy setup. And so we get it kind of close. We sit back in our sweet spot. We look down. We have it so that they're pointed basically where the camera is at right now, which is a couple feet behind my head. And Yeah, that looks good. And let's see how it sounds.
Such a funny one. Make a new life from today.
All right, so the next part, so we're in the neighborhood. This is good enough for most people, for most systems. So now's when you call your buddies over and say, hey, I got some new Zoo speakers, let's check this out. You bring the beer or the root beer, and I'll bring my music, and we'll have a great time. So that's what tonight's about. So getting the gap height makes a huge difference, but you don't have to get freaky about it. You just need a little bit of space. That space allows the low acoustic impedance of the room to be seen by the relatively high acoustic impedance of the cone. We have a unique way of doing things at Zoo in almost everything we do, and how the cone or the loudspeaker driver itself is loaded to the room is also unique. It's called the Zoo Grivey design. And that was a design that me and a guy named Ron Grivey, who's since crossed over, developed for other applications, mostly within internal combustion engines. It was his original idea, but man, it works awesome for loudspeakers. So the next part is setup. You've got them in, you had your first night's party, everybody's happy, some of you are hungover, some of you aren't. The next step is to really dial in your sound. On the Soul, it's really pretty easy to dial in that sound. You've got an amplifier that it's happy with, so like this old Marantz 2245, it's pretty happy. The next thing we're going to do is see how it sounds with vinyl. It's got a phono stage already built in. Of course, we're running our Zoo cartridge. We're not using any step-up devices. It just goes right from that turntable right into this receiver. So kids like Jackson here behind the camera, Ben behind the other camera, and Ian running the still camera, you can hear clicking away, can get a pretty moderate system. They can save up their pennies over a summer, buy a pair of Souls, get a $200 receiver, a $200 turntable, and a Denon DL103 cartridge, and have pretty kick-ass sound. So we're going to switch it out. The turntable's already hooked up. We're just going to cue it down, switch into the phono section, iPhones, even high res, yeah, it just sucks. I mean, vinyl just rocks. This is Mark Lanigan. Does some stuff with Jack White. Maybe this can be part of James' Pick of the Week here in a second, but the Mark Lanigan Band, pretty amazing album. 2 LPs, beautiful packaging, great artwork. All right, so we're gonna go to one channel. So on the Marantz, we're just gonna turn it to mono. So we've turned it to mono and just slid the balance over to the right side. So you want to listen to how the sound in your room is on the left and on the right. And you want them to be somewhat similar. If you were dialing in your room to finding out where it would sound best within a room, you might move the speaker around a little bit. But Chuck has very specific artistic and architectural needs of how this room looks and how the room lives. So his area of movement is pretty narrow. How narrow? About this narrow, huh?
This narrow.
Don't move them.
From here to here.
So anyway, so we've put it on the right side, and we've got it running mono. Jackson, who's behind the camera, he's going to tell us if the left or the right sounds any different. You don't mind talking to you, Jackson? Right on. Oh, awesome. Same signal, same matched pair of speakers. How different did that sound one from the other?
Sound pretty similar.
Pretty similar? No big deviations?
No.
All right, so we're good to go. The rest is to figure out how much more music you want to buy and stop dicking around with setting up your system. I mean, it's really easy. You can go crazy with setup. You don't need to. Not with Soul.